Vibe is so amazing every time we touch you. I just can't get enough. But I know how to put it down. Say you want a real one, baby, you found one. Tell me when you're ready, baby.
Good morning. This is the fitness representative coming live from Intellectual Radio. We have a special guest today who's going to be on here with me for the entire hour. We got a lot of information to give you guys this morning. Hopefully you guys are ready for a great show. Like I said, this is the Fitness Report brought to you by the Fitness Representative, representing fitness for life. Today we have a special treat here. All right. We have Patina Dixon Jenkins. We want to welcome her here today. This is one of my good clients, one of my favorite clients. As of late, she's really been doing her thing on the fitness side, really been handling business as far as making a change with her body and making a change with her lifestyle. So what we're going to do today is pretty much give her a chance to tell her story, give her a chance to let you guys out there know about where she came from and where she's headed and, you know, her current situation with health and fitness. She's a part of a really important global health initiative that's been around for a long time. One of the most important and drastic diseases over the last 100 years or so, for sure. So we're going to give her a chance to talk about that. We're going to give her a chance to interact with the public. You guys, the call-in number is 708-223-8953. So get ready for a good show. And we're going to start off first by introducing our guest. And like I said, very special person. Been on her now for a little bit over a year. And from the time we met, she was really, you know, ready to make a change. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Mrs. Patina Dixon Jenkins.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for joining me. It's early, so you know we want to put out a lot of information, no matter what time of day. Like I said, thank you for being here. I know this is something that you really wanted to do. I know this is something that's really important to you. So we're going to start off by asking you just for the simple stuff,
Sure.
the math.
Okay.
All right, where you from, and what's the reason? Why are you so important? Give me the math on why you're so important today, because you are. So let's hear it. Let's hear the simple stuff before we go into the detailed stuff.
Sure. So I'm happy to share my journey with everybody today. It, like you mentioned, it's been about a year since I decided to really get myself back in the gym, get myself back together, and dedicate myself to rebuilding my fitness. I'm originally from the area, from Evanston.
Shout out to Evanston.
My parents are both from the beautiful island of Jamaica, and that's where that's where my roots are. That's where we would go in the summers to visit my grandparents and everything else. So first generation American, and really. This is my home. This has been my life.
Right.
I haven't really lived a lot of places, and happy to still be here and having seen the world and coming back home here is a really nice feeling.
And that's right. You're a world traveler. And would you say where we talk about this a lot?
Yeah.
Where would you say, just to let the people know, where would you say that you're most comfortable on this earth? Of course, you're American. Your family's from the islands, but when we talk about cultures, when we talk about the different cultures of the world, and seeing that you've traveled to most countries and most continents, what would be your second home outside of, say, even more so than Jamaica?
I know, like the easy answer.
Right.
The easy answer is Jamaica.
Right,
That's,
but
where I'm used to going, where I travel a lot. I'd say probably my favorite trip, or the most impactful trip that I had, is when I went to Ethiopia.
Right.
It was about 10 years ago, and I spent about 2 weeks there. I went for work, so I went by myself.
Uh-huh.
But I met up with a group of Americans who were there, who were a volunteer group. And the thing that struck me the most is from the second I landed, I mean, even before I landed, like at the airport, on the plane, everywhere I went, everybody assumed that I was local.
Right.
Everybody thought that I was, born and bred Ethiopian.
Like you
People
were full-blooded Ethiopian,
Yeah,
right?
people were shocked when I opened my mouth and sounded like this,
Right.
So to me, that was most impactful, is going, by yourself to the other side of the earth and feeling completely at home and blending into a place that you've never been in your life.
Right.
So to me, that was like, I'd say that was probably the
That's
most
great. Yeah, and I figured I asked that as a loaded question because you do resemble Ethiopian women like
I hear it a lot.
100%. Yeah.
I heard it the whole entire time I was
Right.
there.
And being someone who's traveled also, and not know a little bit about the Ethiopian culture, more so through American, Ethiopians, but to know that you've stepped foot on the land and actually, been to the capital and stuff like that, that's very, fascinating.
Yeah.
So, since you've traveled a lot and since you've seen different cultures, it almost, I mean, first of all, you're a Northwestern grad.
Yes.
You're a journalist.
Yes.
By degree, right?
Yes. I went to Northwestern's Medill School.
Right.
I majored in journalism, minored in French.
Right.
Specialized in anthropology, so kind of a bunch of different interests. And my field was broadcast.
Oh,
so
right.
I actually had a radio show for many, many years, a reggae radio show, Caribbean music, where we, played the music, interviewed people, highlighted local stores, local, businesses, etc. So did that for many, many years, and ended up in the communications field anyway, even though I'm no longer a working journalist. Ended up in the field, and I'm glad where I ended up. I work for a nonprofit, as you mentioned earlier. And the trip to Ethiopia actually was part of a polio immunization trip. So, I mean, you mentioned in your intro that I work on a global health program. That's the global health program. There's been a vaccine against polio since the 1950s, but it's still around. It's still affecting people. And it's mostly children under the age of 5 that get it. And it's completely preventable, but it is incurable. So if you get it, there's no reversing it.
And I guess we want to touch on that even so before we go into, you personally, the polio vaccine, just polio in general. As a trainer in Evanston, I remember my client Megan, who basically did the logo for the End Polio Now. Yeah. Shout out to Megan Molden. Basically, you always think of polio as something from the early 20th century. You really don't look at it as anything significant now because there's so many diseases out, but it's almost like most of the world passed it and now, focuses on everything else other than polio. So for you guys to really making that the initiative and to kind of try to finish it off, that's important. So I'm pretty sure the job you have, just like myself, is a very fulfilling job. And to hear that the vaccine is out there through you guys, that's got to be important.
Yeah, I mean, it's the vaccine's been around forever, and to go to some of the places where I've been, I mean, India's now been polio free for about 6 years.
Right.
But when I first started working on the program, some of my first international trips were to India. I've been to India 3 times, and to go and to see, some of the people who have been affected by it, who don't necessarily have access to corrective surgery or to crutches or anything else to help them move around. And, see some of them crawling on the side of the road because they contracted a disease that's completely preventable. It was heartbreaking. And, it does really put in perspective a lot of the things we take for granted. And, I'm a mom, my kids got the polio vaccine when they were babies. But, to see other moms in other places where their kid's fine one day playing, comes down with a fever, and then cannot walk and has no use of their limbs for the rest of their life. Right. I mean, that's, as a mom, that really, really, it hurts. It hurts to see
instantly.
That. Yeah. So, I do find fulfillment in that work, and, being able to, I work on the communications team around that. So being able to support the program and, see it make progress. There's only been one human disease ever eradicated, and that's smallpox in the 70s. And this is on target to be the second. So there is.
We still get smallpox shots.
I don't think we get
Right?
smallpox vaccination anymore, but we do.
Okay.
We do still get polio shots
Right.
because as long as it's still out there, you
'Cause
still
I
need
feel
to be
like-
protected against it.
I feel like back in the 90s, or maybe in the millennium, I could be wrong, but I feel like we got smallpox shots
It's
in
been
the military.
well, maybe I don't know what
Right,
people
right.
get, but smallpox was eradicated in '79.
Okay.
So maybe
Well, maybe it was like the tail end trying
Yeah,
to just finish it.
exactly.
Okay.
So that would make sense,
Right.
for people that are of a certain age, like we are,
Right.
that you might have, you still might have been vaccinated against it until it was,
Just
until
totally
it was
done.
completely phased out.
Okay, so we're gonna go into we want to go into yourself as a mom, as a wife, as a hardworking, mother, as someone who really has to juggle, what life brings on and the choices you make as far as, becoming a mother and still working, and what it's like to get back to you and try to put that into the mix. But before we do, we'd like to give a shout out to Intellectual Radio. You can catch us. We're live, IntellectualRadio.com. Call in number 708-223-8953. We're talking polio. We're talking communications. We're talking fitness. And we are here with the lovely Patina Dixon Jenkins. And we're basically going to get into her life as basically a fit mom. And I'm not talking just working out. I'm talking about teaching, and I'm talking about really influencing others. She's gaining a really good social media following. Shout out to Pet Gets Fit. I think, right?
Yeah.
Pet _get_fit. Really blowing up and really, influencing others. And that's the thing. As a trainer, it's kind of tough. A lot of times we're never in a position of too much change. It's usually a financial situation for us, but physically, at least for myself, I've never been out of shape ever in my life. And I always say, men out there, you got no reason to be out of shape. You didn't have a baby. You didn't go through 9 months of pregnancy into a labor. You didn't go through the emotional ups and downs of, postpartum or prenatal. So I always say we have no reason to be out of shape. But in the world today, seeing that a lot of women lives change when it comes to work, when it comes to having kids and becoming a housemate, your life changes because now you have to take on the same things that men take on, plus your own personal stuff like pregnancy. So, the first, I guess, to kind of go into this, the first question I want to ask is where as far as physical fitness, where did it start for you before the family? Where did it start for you before the change? Like, what was the importance of it? You traveled, you were in great shape, you were young. What was the feeling like then as far as staying in shape? How'd you view it back then?
It was just a part of my life, I'd say. Growing up, I was always athletic. I was a speed skater, and my sister and I were speed skaters.
Right.
We always played sports. We went to a really small school. We played sports, played volleyball, played basketball. Always really active,
Right.
always really fit. And I was actually a really skinny child. I didn't eat. I was a picky eater. People that knew me when I was little are still surprised when I take a big plate at Thanksgiving,
Right.
because I was never much of an eater. I was always a small child, and fit adult. So I'd say before motherhood, I stayed in the gym. I went to a lot of boot camp classes. Shout out to Schmid and Greg
Shout out
and
to
Erica and
Erica.
all the trainers and Woody, all the trainers that I knew because I stayed in the gym.
Right.
I was in the gym a lot. I'd go multiple days a week. A lot of the friends that I made as an adult were from the gym because that was part of my social circle.
Uh-huh.
So for me, it was a very big shift to move into motherhood and
Right.
find that I didn't have the time, didn't have the availability to do that anymore. It wasn't part of my lifestyle anymore. And I really had to, I'd say I'd had to fight against myself to get back to a place where I could make that part of my life again. So it was a very big transition for for me. So to answer your question simply, yes, I was fit. I was always active before motherhood.
Right. And like for someone who has such a drastic change, the important piece as to why there was a change to begin with, of course you're looking to become a mom, you're looking to become to have a family, you get married, you want to have children, you've gotten the career thing down, you see that you're going to be set at this job maybe, and then the first thing you want to do is have children.
Right.
You want to get settled and buy your home, and and you want to have children. Tell us how that took a turn, that wasn't such a pleasant time.
It was a really, really rough journey to motherhood for me. I got married kind of older. I got married at 30,
right,
and decided to start my family around 33. I had a miscarriage right out the gate, so it was kind of rough. But I didn't really know any different. That was a little emotional, but I was really determined. I wanted to have a family. I always knew I wanted to have kids.
Right.
So decided to keep trying, and out of the blue got pregnant with twins. I was overjoyed to be pregnant with twins. It was a boy and a girl. Was completely thrilled. My body went through the changes really rapidly. It was basically like, this is everything I ever asked for. I wanted a boy and a girl, to have them both at the same time.
That's what we all want. That first set to be a boy and girl together.
And these were going to be, these are my first children. I went to the ultrasound. It was a total shock to me, no intervention or anything.
Right.
So
I'm actually pregnant the right way.
Right. Total shock. And that they were twins and it was a boy and a girl. So, completely riding the wave of that, but it was a difficult pregnancy. My body had a hard time adjusting. I felt like it was a huge transition for me, and I kept feeling like I was having pains. At one point, they recommended that I go to physical therapy during the pregnancy. And I come from a family of women who have all had difficult pregnancies. My mom was on bed rest with me and my sister for a long time, and my sister actually had a premature child. My sister had her son, my nephew, who is as tall as me and beautiful and smart, but she had him at 26 weeks. He was 2 pounds 2 ounces, and clinging to life, intubated in the ICU for 3 months. So I knew that there was a risk of me, facing challenges in my pregnancy, just because this is what my mom and my sister had faced. And I brought that to my doctor, and there's a lot of talk right now about how Black women aren't taking it seriously a lot of the times, and I feel like this was another instance, because I said I'm having this pain, having back pain, I feel like I'm having contractions. Totally brushed off, totally normal. Should I see a specialist that maybe works a lot with women who are having multiples? No, fine. We have women who have twins here all the time.
Wow.
Really, really dismissed quite a bit. And when I was 6 months pregnant, I went into full labor and delivered my twins when I was 6 months pregnant, and they were too young, too early to survive. So delivered them, held them, saw them, and they passed away. So that was extremely traumatic.
That things like that last forever.
Yeah.
So and because of that, you started a nonprofit yourself, right?
I didn't start a nonprofit, but I support the March of Dimes, March for Babies.
Right.
I raise money in their memory every year. I think lifetime I've raised, I want to say $8,000 over the past few years in their memory. So every year I do that in the spring and do the 5K downtown Chicago. So that's really gratifying, and to be a part of that and raise money in their memory and raise money for prematurity research to figure out why this happens to women. My premature labor was never explained. It was just something that happened. My body went into labor and my children were born early. They say there was nothing that they could have done to prevent it. Nothing, it was just one of those things that happened. So I, gladly fund research and raise money for research to help figure out what happes. They're looking at whether there's a gene that might indicate whether or not you'd be more susceptible to preterm labor. Does it run in families the same way I believe it runs in mine?
Right. Could it be more than just a couple of families? Could it be, more
Is there a
gene?
Is there something that causes this? So yeah, I have dedicated myself to that, and every year I raise money in their memory. And actually, their birthdays was this week.
Yeah, I remember you posting that.
Yeah,
that they would have been
My twins,
7, right?
No, my twins would have turned 6.
6, okay.
Yeah, my twins would have turned 6.
Yeah, that's an experience.
Yeah.
That's an experience.
Yeah, but I mean, it pushed me heavily into a depression. I mean, I really, really struggled after that. But I mean, I also still wanted my family.
Right. And right. So it's something that taught you not to quit also.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't give up. And I mean, I ended up going right back again. And, 2012 were my twins. 2014 was my daughter. 2016 was my son. So back to back to back.
Yeah, that's three pregnancies in a matter of
three pregnancies and 4 births.
Wow. In a matter of a few years,
from
right?
2012 to 2016, in 4 years.
Yeah, that's tough. And like we said earlier, postpartum for one child is enough for the brain and the body to really, but 4.
Right. Well, and then the grief compounded with the stress during the subsequent pregnancies, because with my other 2 children, the pregnancies were hard. Right. I was on bed rest for part of it.
And you're thinking about the first 2.
Right, exactly.
What could have the possibilities.
Yeah. I was terrified. I wouldn't move. I think that's where I gained a lot of my weight, was during my pregnancy with my daughter, because I was terrified. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do anything that could send me into preterm labor again, because that was so devastating.
Yeah. And that could be the case, seeing that it happened already.
Right, exactly. So I was paranoid. I gained a lot of weight. I didn't move. I stayed home. I worked from home for 20 weeks.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to.
And the average is what, like 6 to 8?
I don't know. But I worked from home.
You 20, right.
I worked from home for 20 weeks. I had to have injections, progesterone injections, to help see if that could help me stay pregnant longer. And I mean, thank God she was full term.
Right. So
I went 41 weeks with my daughter.
Wow.
And kept it. And, she was healthy. She's, beautiful little girl
beautiful
now.
Little girl. 2 beautiful children. Beautiful. Well, now Sully was full term also?
Actually, my son was born a month early because of the nature of my C-section with my daughter. I was in labor with her for 24 hours, and then I had an emergency C-section. And due to the nature of the C-section, they didn't want me to go into labor with my son. But I actually ended up in labor in the hospital with him at 32 weeks anyway.
Wow. Well, at least you passed 30 weeks.
Yeah, I passed 30 weeks so that time.
That was,
It was a milestone. So I knew he could survive by that point. Right. But I was in the hospital having contractions every 3 minutes for 4 days.
Wow.
While they tried to stop labor. And they ended up stopping labor, and he stayed in for another month, but he was born big and healthy at 36 weeks. But yeah, the whole thing has been a really
that's a roller coaster. That's something that Six Flags can't give you.
Right.
Now, before we go further, we'd like to shout out once again IntellectualRadio.com. You can catch us live right now. We're also we're streaming live, and we're also on iTunes and iHeart. If you want to go back and catch us, you missed the regular show, catch us on iHeartRadio.com, Apple Podcast. Once again, the call-in number 708-223-8953. This is the Fitness Report, brought to you by the Fitness Representative. We have here today, and we're going to continue with Mrs. Patina, and we're going to go into how she puts it all together these days. Needless to say, she's been through some traumatic experiences. She's been, she's recovered from them. She's actually, she's been winning. She had 2 victories with the children for sure, after such a, just a trauma-filled pregnancy the first time around. Most people don't like to to even go there again. They'll give up right then and there. They'll finish the process and say, hey, maybe this is not for me, especially when they feel like their family, adds to it. And like you said, maybe it's a gene. So, I like to give a shout out to all the mothers out there who's had miscarriages and who fought, to move past them and still have their families. I like to give a shout out to my ex-wife who, we miscarried the first child also and immediately went back and had that beautiful little girl named Anitra and those 2 more children. So, shout out to those women who press on. And speaking of pressing on, seeing that Miss Patina did that in such a dramatic way, we're going to go into how, since the children, she's decided to make a change. And, she met this cool person who would go on to help her with that. And, maybe one of the reasons why she's here today on the show. So we're going to go into more questions. And our first question is, and I can say this from experience, I got a phone call. I got a phone call or a text message because this just so happens to be the teammate of my cousin, screenwriter Shamar White, who's out there in Hollywood doing her thing right now. And they're part of this, this little small school. You see that emoji? It's not okay, it's small. This small school called Roycemore in Evanston. For the most part, the school has to be about the size of the studio we're in right now.
Stop.
And about 20 people.
We went to a very small private school.
Great school.
A nice little college.
Great school full of college-bound children.
So I actually grew up with your cousin.
Right. She actually grew up with Mar.
Right. We went to school together from 1st to 12th
right.
grade. So I've known her forever.
Which is crazy to me.
Right. But I didn't know you.
Of course. Right.
And when I found out that you were her cousin, she posted something saying, my cousin's having this fitness thing and whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, he's in Evanston. And, maybe this is the person that can help me do what it is that I'm trying to do. Right.
So I got this message into a session that, started us training together. And she really, from the first time we met, I saw the potential as far as her making a transformation. She came in, she did an assessment with myself, and I could tell that she had all the athleticism and that she had the competitive spirit to move forward in something that might really, benefit her going, for a long time. So what we're going to do today, I just want to ask her a couple of questions.
Okay.
And I want to know from a client standpoint, there's been a lot of clients come through the fitness representative. There's been, from East Coast to West Coast, there's many who you can actually say trained hard. There's a few who you can say, messed around and didn't really want to do nothing but get a face-to-face with the trainer. But yourself, you put in work. And I've been training you now we just hit a year.
Yep.
And to see the gains that you've made, first of all, I'd like to say I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
You've done a great job, and I really hope for your continued success. I really do think that 2019 is your year, and I hope all the best for you. We had one little setback with the foot, and that didn't stop us.
My broken toe.
Right, the wayward toe.
My broken toe. Yes.
But we stayed on it.
Yeah, I didn't quit when I broke my toe.
Right.
That was a big.
That was huge.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, what brought you back? What brought you back? I mean, you're beautiful. You're beautiful already.
Thanks.
The world loves, what you have already. What said, let's get back to, what we want to be like 100%. What made you call me?
Sure. Okay, so it was coming up on my baby's first birthday.
Right.
He's turning 2 in a couple weeks. So I basically had reached a point where I had tried to work out. I had tried to work out after work. I had tried to work out different times of day, tried to do some at-home programs, DVDs, everything else. And nothing was working. I couldn't stick with it. I was really struggling to carve out that time and that dedication to do it. And, I was uncomfortable in my skin. I had gained a lot of weight during my pregnancies. I didn't feel like myself. I had gone through with the depression and then pregnancy and nursing, and then pregnancy and nursing.
And depression throughout each time, right?
A little bit,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing had taken up most of my 30s was spent in the pursuit of starting my family. So I had reached a point where I said, I need to do something drastic. I need to find a way to put myself back together and get myself back in the gym. And, when you know yourself, you know yourself. And I know that I don't like to go to the gym. I don't like to work out. I
Right.
don't like to go to the gym by myself. When I was going to the gym, it was a social thing. Like I would go to the classes, the boot camps. There was camaraderie. There was
Mhm.
excitement.
Mhm.
I
And
would
you
go
just so
there.
happen to be getting in shape.
And you happen to be
Right.
getting in shape. And then people would be looking for you. You miss a
Right.
week. People are like, where were
Where
you?
were you?
How come you skipped? Oh, you're skipping now.
Mhm.
Like there was people to hold you accountable. So
Right.
I knew that about myself, that if I had an appointment with someone who was holding me accountable to it, that I would go.
Right.
If I was like, I'm going to work out 3 days a week, I would never do it. I
Right.
would never, ever do it. So I knew that by having someone who would hold me accountable, I would actually follow through with
Right.
it. And that's, that's what I was looking for. And I wanted to find somebody who could fit into my work schedule. I pick up my kids every day after work, and my mornings are taken up with getting them ready for
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
So I knew that mornings and evenings were really tough, or I'd have to depend on someone else. I'd have to depend on my husband, to have to depend on
Right.
someone else to help me
To
with
help.
the kids so that I
Mhm.
could get out of the house. And once you're home and getting them fed, getting them ready for bed, I couldn't carve out that time.
Okay.
But what I could do and what I did control was my lunch breaks at work. And I tried to figure out if I could find someone who could train me on my lunch breaks and be willing to squeeze into that, that small
Right.
space during my day. So, after you popped up and I realized that I knew your cousin and all that, I decided to ask if that
I
might be
wasn't just a
something.
stranger.
We're just a stranger. You
Right.
knew my childhood
Right.
classmate. Or
Right.
she's
Your
a couple years
teammate, everything.
ahead of me.
Mhm.
But I said maybe this is what I'll do, and I told myself I'd give it a month and
Right.
see if I was making any progress and if I could stick with it. And from there,
Yeah, it took off.
yeah.
So after 1 year, we put up the stats.
Yes.
We've talked about the numbers. First of all, give us the numbers. What's the weight lost over a year?
In about a year, I'm down 27 pounds. I was wearing a size 12 when we started working out. I'm now in an 8.
So
very
all
comfortably.
the inches are down.
I've lost 4 inches off my hips. And I think about 2.5 inches off my waist. I
Right.
still had the little mommy pooch. That's what I'm
Well,
working on for 2019.
Right.
That's my goal for 2019 is the mommy pooch.
But when I tell you that I've seen someone go from, and this is how you know it's a journey, because you actually went from coming in basically to talk. Your ethic was trash. To see that go,
at least I was there.
Exactly.
I
And
showed up.
So to get you in there and burn those calories, and to see that today, I'm telling you, if you guys go on her page, she's putting in work. Pet Gets Fit, Instagram page mainly, she's putting in work. And I would love to take all the credit, because that's what trainers want to do. They want to take the credit. But I got to give this credit to the person who actually did it. I'm tough to be around. I'm tough to train with. I really want your 1000%. And for her to give it up and to actually try to curb the eating habits and to really see the progress, even though she told me that she wasn't going to follow this and that on the diet, to see that happen and to see the change, it makes you feel really proud as a trainer to be associated with it. So to see you really do your thing, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I hope that it continues, and I hope that you never look back, because this is a lifelong journey. One day those children are going to be gone, they're going to be grown, and they're going to look back and say, wow, mom went from A to B, and she did it during the time that was rough. She did it during the time that was really, tough for her. So we commend her for that. And they look up to you for that much more reason,
I hope so.
So
they do follow me though.
Right,
I mean, when I
right.
work out at home,
Yes.
I have a video on my page where they're doing their little push-ups next
Yeah.
to me, the
Yep.
counting, they do their little jump squats and all that.
Yes.
So they see you, they see what you do. And I that was a big part of it. I didn't want to be miserable. I didn't feel comfortable in my
Mhm.
body.
Right.
I felt miserable. I knew I wanted
Right.
to change and be that for them too. I don't want them to see their mom feeling miserable about herself. Like I want them
Right.
to see me confident. I want them to see me happy. So
And that's part
that
of
was
it,
big
And,
thing.
and your children are smart. Your children want to know why. They want to know why everything. And to see you happy and to see you in shape and stuff,
Yeah.
they see it. I know they see it now, but they'll really appreciate what they don't understand now
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
So, if you're at your best and you're shining bright like you really can, they'll recognize that and even be more grateful that, they were attached to this
Right.
mom that really
I want
that
them
really
to have
put
a
in
happy
work.
mama.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we could give you a quick plug, you gotta tell us where to find you.
Yes.
You gotta tell us what you're doing because, hey, like she said earlier, she had a radio show that was on for, you said how long?
Oh, probably 17 years.
Right. See,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's some time.
Yeah.
Along with your sister
Yes.
Steph. Shout out to Steph who went vegan on us.
Yes, big up my sister. She has a page, an Instagram page called Steph's Vegan Journey.
Steph's vegan
And
journey.
since she became vegan, she was already off dairy, but since she became vegan, she lost 10 pounds and 4 inches in like a month. And she's really, really dedicated to it. She tries all these
Right.
vegan recipes and vegan everything. She's really, really dedicated herself
Yeah.
to
So
it.
that's good because I mean, Big Sis play a part in all that. Big Sis play a part in everything. That's just how it goes. And me training Steph, a couple of times, she looks up to what you got going on. So I really commend you for that also because you really are inspiring. I mean, look at all of the comments and the inboxes on good things. You got the crazy folks out there, but look at all of the inspiring stories that you probably giving out right now through just just social media. So
that was a big thing for me
right,
too.
I
Like
bet.
I didn't know what to expect by putting my page together and
Right.
sharing my story. But I've really been pleasantly surprised with the comments that I'm getting and the encouragement and people
Right.
saying, you know what, I see that you're working hard. I see that you're dedicated to this, and that's inspiring. And there's other moms. I love getting the comments from the other moms who are like, I'm in
Right.
the same boat as you, and we can keep each other inspired and keep each other motivated. That means a lot to me. There's always going to be creeps on
Oh yeah,
Instagram.
it's gonna be creeps. So
There's
all
always
right.
going to be a couple creeps.
So we wanted to just get on here today and let you guys know that we got a special person out there. It's been a pleasure. We've run our time, and it's been a pleasure interviewing Miss Patina, and we hope for the best for her. This once again has been the Fitness Report radio show brought to you by the Fitness Representative. You can also catch us, like I said before, on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, podcast, and everywhere else that they got to offer. Much love, the Fitness Representative.
Turn up, we best friends. Fall to we follow, she won't you.